Hey, how's it going? Life here. I am going to be reacting to MTashed Wuthering Waves launch tier list. He's doing this based on a client that he got in with like a lot of built up characters, as well as some help he got from some theater crafting friends, it looks like. I've been playing the game ever since CBT 1. I have over 200 hours of experience playing both betas, as well, like I said, of the most recent beta. I have had the fortunate opportunity to play every single character in the game, including the updated version of Yinlin, which I know a lot of content creators didn't get an opportunity to, whether they didn't have enough pulls from grinding, or if they just lost the 50-50 last CBT2. But fortunately, I have the only character in this game I have not played is Calcharo. And so I've gotten a lot of, information from other people who have, however, as well as seeing some gameplay. So that's the only character that I haven't played. But other than that, yeah, I have a lot of experience. So I got a chance to watch this the first time, and I just wanted to say there's a couple things that I've noticed that MTashed didn't mention. So I just wanted to bring those to you all's attention, long story short. So let's take a listen.
Getting a 7-second duration on the one passive he provides, which is
so basically right here, MTashed is kind of discussing the fact that Mortefi gets a 7-second duration with his sequence 4. And so a lot of people are probably going to sleep on him. Now, mind you, subject to change, but if it was in CBT 1, it was also in CBT 2, likely to be on launch. Yeah, a lot of people are going to sleep on Mortefi. However, like I said, I will say he does feel a lot different when he doesn't have those extra 7 seconds. And so the rotations are pretty tight. I still think he's a worthwhile character to invest in, at the very least get the sequences and build him up afterward. But he's got a lot of things going for him. So all in all, solid character. He just wanted to kind of introduce that at the beginning. Yeah, Mortefi's going to be a really solid unit, especially when he gets to sequence 4. You're going to put him on a team. You can basically work on just about any team. So really good character. All right, so first up on the list.
I would say in the A or S- tier. The reason why, you get them from the start so you can invest from the start. You also get multiple dupes and copies of this unit, allowing you to get some juicy value. Also, if you invest in this character and you level them up, there are other elements that are getting brought into the game. You can see it down here. There's going to be Havoc, and there's going to be other elements that are available, most likely down the road. So there may be a situation where all that investment pays off and they become an S tier unit. So I'm going to put it in the A tier for right now, but it is a very solid unit. Anyone in the A tier is still going to be God tier and allow you to beat everything in the game.
All right, so yeah, he puts Rover in A tier. I agree with that for the most part. Solid A tier, probably the top of A tier. Ease of use. Rover is extremely easy to use. Sword characters in general in this game are very easy to use, but Rover, being a sword character, has a very generous parry window. Basically, when you do his attack, if the boss is about to like hit you with a parryable attack, you have a lot of time. Like you can hit that thing a couple seconds before, like at least maybe like 1.5, possibly 2 seconds before, and you'll still get the parry off. Like you're gonna feel like the best gamer ever playing as Rover. The slow field on Rover's outro, really good. Works against hologram bosses, which are like the strongest bosses in the game right now. Is just really good. Helps you set up whoever comes after you. Sometimes using the boss echoes in this game takes a long time. So use his slow, then maybe you switch into like Encore, for example. Use the Ghost Rider echo, then do some damage with Encore and her ultimate. Really solid character.
Let's go with some of the big obvious picks. So they're saying Jiyan is going to be an S tier damage pick. This is the first limited unit in the game. Just a reminder, a lot of the first units in any gacha game end up getting power crept. So even though this might be an S tier unit now, they may drop down in comparison to other units down the road. A good example of that is Zila in HSR. Still a really good unit, but other units came out and were just stronger.
All right, so the Jiyan conversation. I want to use that as an opportunity to kind of briefly discuss the idea of power creep in this game. Power creep, I don't think is going to happen in the same way in this game that it does in other games. The reason being, there's so much more potential, whether it be doing combos, the combinations with the echoes. Like, there's been some clips that have gone around that came from overseas, like China, Japan, things of that nature, Korea. And these guys have figured out some crazy tech when it comes to combos with these characters. Like, basically in other games, one of the few ways that you can really get your characters stronger is by either super high investment when it comes to their artifacts, relics, what have you, um, getting more copies of the character or getting 5-star weapons and copies of that. In this game, it's going to be different. In this game, you have the ability to actually improve your skill. I've seen some ridiculous combos with Jiyan, as well as other characters like Yangyang, Calcharo, Verina, like really cool stuff. And so when you put that into consideration, even the fact that you can do like double and even triple plunges, where like you plunge with one character, switch, plunge with another character, and switch. And as long as you switch in time before the character hits the ground, you can get all three characters to plunge basically. It's really cool. The switch tech in this game is insane. And so as a result, I don't think, even if somebody does more damage because they have the, brand new character, you might actually, or rather the brand new character does more damage on paper, you might actually be able to overcome that just because you're more skilled. Like, this is why wailing in this game isn't going to work the way that a lot of people think it will, because yeah, you'll do more damage, but if you can't like stay alive, if you can't dodge, if you're not breaking the boss's stagger bar via parries and things of that nature, yeah, it's not going to be as much of a walk in the park, basically.
Now, Yinlin, in my opinion, is actually going to be put at the very top of the
Could not agree more.
list for right now, because Yinlin is kind of a supporting, buffing unit that is going to make any electric unit in the future very strong. I think that she is one of the most valuable units in the game at the very beginning. So I'm going to put her all the way at the top there because
Yeah, so basically 100% on that. Yinlin is going to be really strong because of the fact that I know a lot of people are going to want to play her on field, but her strength is actually in the fact that you can play her off field, because you get to have access to all that damage and still have another main DPS on the team. This is why a lot of people are very excited for the Calcharo Yinlin. A lot of people are going to be choosing Calcharo so they can get like a Calcharo Yinlin type of scenario, and possibly, hopefully, get either get Verina, but we do get a Baizhi free in the game, who's the other healer, the Glacio healer. So just really strong character. I've been saying it for a while. Like, I feel like Yinlin is probably going to like make all the money back that they invested in this game. Probably she's going to be crazy. Mark my words, the riding of Wuthering Waves. But basically, just really solid unit. And I keep saying, if they don't pull her for her looks, they're going to pull her for her kit. If they don't pull her for her kit, they'll pull her for just all the crazy animations she has, because they are awesome.
see future potential for the character. Another unit that I can place in the S tier and maybe even above her is Verina.
Busted. So yeah, Verina, and I'll let MTashed kind of explain his reasoning, but I'll just say this: Verina is extremely good, like extremely good. I got her in CBT 1 at first, and I was like, I mean, it's cool, but I didn't really want her. However, after playing her, she is fun, and also she has really cool voice lines. So just all together, really cool voice lines, really good kit. She just buffs so much, and one thing that a lot of people don't know about her, she does off-field damage with her ultimate. Like, when her ultimate is active, she heals and does off-field damage. On top of that, she has some really cool aerial combos, because unlike most characters, she doesn't do like a plunge when she actually... Somebody just followed me on Twitch. Thank you so much. By the way, feel free to follow me on Twitch. We're doing a giveaway. So basically what I was saying was, we have a character who is not like most characters in the fact that she does a aerial attack instead of a plunge. What that means is she can actually stay suspended, which is really, and juggle enemies for that potential. Long story short, she can stay suspended as well as juggle enemies. So all in all, really, really sick character. Do not sleep on her. She's going to be doing a lot of damage combined with the healing set for the Echo set, basically. So really solid character.
Now, this is not a Bailu or Chi-Chi situation.
Exactly.
Is very
A lot of
good.
people are going to
Very
think that.
quick to be on the field, good energy generation, and is able to heal your team. But more importantly, she's able to do a universal buff for your team.
that's the other bit too. She can really, she's a very quick character to play. Like, you don't have to keep her on field for a long time. If you do her rotation properly, you can switch into her and switch out instantly. On top of the fact, the universal buff, that's the other thing that she has. Whereas somebody like Baizhi, the Glacio healer, her buff only hits the next person. Verina's buff hits the whole team. The whole team. So it's just, like I said, all in all, really solid.
You need healers, you need support units, and Verina is super, super solid. She works with absolutely everyone, and I think she's a good pickup unit. So that's going to be bringing up the value of him.
Now we're going to go to Calcharo.
Yinlin, she is going to be bringing up the value of him and potentially bringing him into that S rank. But I think solo and alone, he's going to be somewhere around the S minus or even high A tier long term.
Yeah, I'm going to say this is 9 times out of 10 very correct, just because one of the things is in CBT2, Calcharo was like stupid busted, right? He was like very strong. The crazy thing about it is, though, Calcharo, I think they're probably going to, they said they would be adjusting him a bit, and I think it's because he was too strong. As a standard banner character, they don't want him, you know, just doing so much more damage than, you know, Jiyan, you know what I'm saying? Jiyan, Yinlin, like the limited characters. So they're probably going to bring him down a little bit. But he's still going to be fun. And I do want to say this because we're going to get into this disagreement I actually have with MTashed soon. But all the characters in this game are fun. Like, they really are. Now, maybe it might not be your preferred playstyle, but I would really encourage you to give these characters a try. I think it's one of those things where once you're really getting into the systems and everything, you'll maybe start to see the value of all these characters. But yeah, he'll still be fun, even if he's not busted. As I just said, the power creep conversation a couple minutes ago. Yeah, he'll be fine.
Unless you've got Yinlin to support him or other future units. So it's just something to kind of make note of. Pretty solid overall. It's tough to say, but Encore is a really solid unit.
Yes. Encore is definitely going to be somebody who we're playing a lot in this game. I made a video. Unfortunately, it's no longer up on YouTube because my old channel got deleted. That's a whole other conversation. But it was a technical error. I did not get striked. But I made a video talking about how Encore and Taoqi were like my favorite characters and like the technicalities of those characters. Encore is a really strong character, but not only is she strong, she has some really cool combo ability as well. She has some really great things in her kit that allow her to take advantage of switch tech, basically. One of the examples is when she does her skill outside of her ultimate, she has the ability to basically allow somebody else to switch in, do some damage, and then you can switch back into Encore and still have enough time to complete the ending hit of her skill. She has some other cool things like damage over time. She does some solid damage, and she's just a really fun character to play. Like, one of the only rectifiers, if you're familiar with Genshin Impact, is kind of like a catalyst. She's one of the few rectifiers that have reliable parries, like relatively consistent parry abilities, mainly in her ultimate. Now, I don't know if it was a bug, but in the CBTs, I was actually able to parry with her even outside of her ultimate. I heard some people say you could do it with a plunge. I was able to do it with a different attack, but nevertheless, even if that was a bug, in her ult, just really cool character.
As for Baizhi, I think this is going to be either A tier or S minus tier because she's one of the only healers in the game.
Yeah, I would agree to that as well. Basically, the thing about Baizhi is she, like he said, will be one of the only healers in the game. On top of that, when you take into consideration the fact that a lot of people won't have Verina, yeah, she's going to basically be your only option. You know what I mean? Definitely, possibly might get power creeped in the future, but as like when we get more healers and things of that nature. However, still a solid character, great design, really unique design. But I'll let MTashed kind of explain his piece. But there is one thing about Baizhi that I think I want to warn you all about.
Healers, then I mean, there's no one better. There's no other healers in the game. There's 2 of them.
Don't worry, guys. She will get power
Yeah, see, that's the thing. I feel like she might get power crap, not gonna lie. One thing I do want to say, just for those of you all.
She also provides a damage bonus. That's to the, so that has some major potential.
Yeah, she provides a damage bonus to the team.
Damage bonus. So that has some major potential as well. Danjin.
Yeah, so like I said, she does provide the damage bonus, which, like I said, is good. I said that earlier. She has the damage bonus. It only goes to the character who's next. However, nevertheless, one of the things about Baizhi that I think is very important for us to understand, her dodge has a really long recovery window. Basically, trying to dodge back to back with her, I think it might not be possible if the attack is too fast. For example, Crownless has an attack that literally hits twice. He like sweeps his lance and it hits twice, and you have to basically dodge. Because with Baizhi, you're kind of dodging with her and Yutan, which is the name of her little the little lore implication, potential spoiler, tacit harmony. It's kind of like the tacit discords, which are the enemies, but I'm gonna go and say tacit harmony because it looks like it's not a discord. It looks like it's actually like a good discord, if you know what I mean. So go for what you want. Maybe just a tacit chord or something. But anyway, it's like both of you all have to dodge. So as a result of that, she ends up getting hit. She doesn't recover fast enough to do a second dodge in time. So just something to consider. Not to say don't play her. I've seen people do some really crazy stuff with her, beating like the top stuff in the game. It's just something to consider.
They're putting in the B tier. I'm going to put in the A tier minimum, but this is a bit of a skill pick. I'm going to put in the A tier for sure.
That's crazy.
I like the playstyle. It's this kind of berserker playstyle, but I understand why people might not love that.
Yeah, I would say she's definitely A. Like, putting her in the B tier is nasty work, part of my vernacular. But legitimately, like, she is not B tier. However, I think the thing is, people think she's going to be like this busted character. She has a huge risk, and a lot of you all will be dying a lot. Myself included. She's not like just so easy to play. So, but it's a challenge, and it's a fun challenge. So, hey, one other thing you can do, and this is going to get into a character that I'm a little bit, it's a little sad, I'm not going to lie. We'll see when the game comes out. But play her with a character like Taoqi, for example. I think Taoqi and her are actually a really good pairing due to the fact that Taoqi can provide shields. And, it's kind of like a pseudo Zhongli Hu Tao situation. Not to the same extent, because Taoqi's shields are definitely not that strong. But she can provide shield for Danjin, which will give her just a little bit extra survivability. On top of the fact, Taoqi's outro skill benefits Danjin, because Taoqi's outro skill buffs, I believe it was skill damage, which means that basically having her on the field with Danjin's basically what you're going to do a lot with her is attack, skill. She had, like, you do 3 basic attacks and then do 3 skills right after it. And so that's going to actually help her kit quite a lot. So all in all, they do have synergy, and yeah, I'll be playing Taoqi personally.
Now, as for me, I'm going to put Mortefi, I'm going to put him in the S tier. I'm going to put this guy up here because I see the potential in the future, especially if you start getting dupes of this character. He jumps in and does kind of duo attacks with your teammates.
Yep.
He's got this like...
Let me say this about him. I'm just going to say off rip, I think he's A tier at his, like, when you first get him fresh. But once he gets his sequence 4, then I'd put him at S- tier. That's what I would probably say. Yeah.
Burning attack, I really like this unit. And the big thing is he boosts up heavy attacks. If we ever get any other units that really spam heavy attacks, this unit will just get stronger.
And so that kind of goes into my conversation about Taoqi and Danjin. Danjin will be using heavy attacks. Using those two together is a great pairing, because Danjin's most damage comes from that. That's her forte, basically. Once you build it up, you use a heavy attack to clear it. So yeah, Danjin is the character that he's referring to right now that would use those heavy attacks. Now, does she spam heavy attacks? No, but the heavy attack buff will still be beneficial. So all in all, especially like I said, when you get sequence 4, and that way you have a lot more time to like, you know, build up her forte to use it maybe like 2, possibly 3 times while his ultimate is still going. Yeah, definitely a solid pairing. Next up, we have my boy. Aalto. All right, let's hear.
As for Aalto, didn't get really great ratings down here.
Yeah, that's the thing with Aalto. Sadly, and I can explain it very easily what Aalto's problem is. Aalto's biggest problem in the game right now is that he doesn't do enough damage to warrant having him on field, but you want him on field. Like, the idea is like, oh, he's supposed to be a support, but his forte requires him to be on field. Okay, this is my thought process. It's possible that there's a character that he's going to pair with that just is not in the game yet. Maybe it's going to be like a, 5-star heavy, like, or not so much heavy, but a 5-star gun wielding character who just does like a lot of damage. That's honestly all I can see him being useful for at this point. But because to be honest, we don't have a 5-star gun character yet. So maybe that's the character, and maybe they're also going to be arrow damage because he both buffs arrow damage and when he uses his ultimate, basically anybody who shoots through his ultimate does more damage. So it's like, yeah, you could buff him. And mind you, once again, hey, use him. He's going to be a lot of fun. He's a lot of fun to play, but his on-field damage is lacking. So it's just like, do you want him to support? Do you want him to do damage? If you want him to support, why is he on field for so long? Compared to like, a Verina or a Baizhi who don't have to be on the field that long, versus with him, he kind of needs to be on the field, or it seems as though they want him to be on the field based on his forte. So, yeah.
He's got like an arrow damage bonus, but overall playstyle, I don't like the feel. I'm going to put him in either the...
Yeah, so I disagree 100%. He feels amazing. Like, I've seen some crazy stuff with Aalto. Like I said, his damage doesn't feel amazing, but his playstyle feels great. Zooming around the battlefield, he has like a little taunt. Basically, he creates like a mist ghost of himself, and it taunts the enemies. He feels very fun. It's just his damage. But you know what? Slap on a sequence 4 Mortefi and a Verina, and just like make it feel like you're the one in charge,
The B or A tier, I might get canceled for it, but I'm not convinced that this is like a must pick up unit.
Yeah, definitely not must pick up. I don't think that this is a bad... I don't disagree with his rating at all. I think this is the proper rating. But I do feel like he's a fun character to play. I will say that much.
For Yuanwu, I think he's going to be in the A tier. He places it down like Fischl. Overall, I think Yuanwu is going to be pretty solid, and you get a free copy. But there's so much testing that needs to be done. This is just a preliminary idea. Anyone that's like S or S-.
And so let me speak on Yuanwu real quick. Bro is very fun. Yuanwu is very fun. Do not sleep on him. I mean, honestly, this is the problem with these characters, and I feel so sorry for you all trying to choose. People think that the hardest thing in this game is the combat. I think the hardest thing in this game is figuring out who to play, because they're all so fun. One thing, once again, like I said, some things that I not so much disagree, but some things that MTashed might have missed or just didn't mention. Yuanwu, so his first sequence as of CBT2 allows him to speed up his attacks by 20% once he uses his forte. When his forte happens, he like activates this like kind of charged up mode, and he has like really heavy, really fast hitting electro attacks basically. And it's so cool, but it's also very interesting because he shreds the boss's stagger bars. Like, shreds that thing like nobody's business. So you combine that 20% with the speed of his attacks are fast already. So when you put all of that together, and then you can even use his ultimate, which I believe gives him more speed. So all in all, really solid character, and definitely not somebody to sleep on. Like I said, you can bring him in, have him shred the boss's shields all the way down, and then bring in your damage dealer, and they just, get uncontested damage, basically. So, unhindered, I guess you could say. So yeah, Yuanwu, very fun character. Don't sleep on him.
Minus tier, they stand out as like, oh yeah, duh, they're good. Everyone else is like, yep, probably good. You know what I mean? Yangyang is going to be an S- or high A unit. Yangyang is a free unit that everyone gets, but her ability to group and pair everyone together, I think is very strong. I think that Yangyang has some potential. There's going to be moments where she really shines. I'm going to put her in the S- tier because she does something that no one else is really doing.
Fair.
I see the value there.
Yeah, 100%. I would also say once again, she feels so good to play. There's going to be a lot of people just saying, you know what, I'm just going to do main DPS Yangyang. Like, truthfully. So many people are going to end up doing something along those lines. I guarantee it. She also, like, look at her. She looks awesome, man. So, great character. Amazing animations. I would say S-. Because of how versatile she is, she's very versatile. 100%. I can see that.
Taoqi, I'm going to put her in like the B tier. She's got some potential. She can work with the Echo set to give your team some healing energy. She's okay, but she's kind of like a tank unit, and tanks don't exist in this game. You're going to get one shot.
I'm going to disagree. I'm putting her in A. Call me biased. I'm putting her in A. Reason why is because, once again, I think what she has is something different than Baizhi, where if you're willing to play at that playstyle where you're not getting healed, but you just use her shields, like I said, play her with Danjin. Danjin doesn't need to be healed. Just use her kit properly and you'll be able to get her health back. Taoqi will enable Danjin to play her playstyle a lot better. On top of that, she does a nice chunk of damage with her ultimate. Last I checked, now, once again, subject to change, her ultimate has the highest scaling of any attack in the game. It scales on defense percent particularly. And there weren't really like a lot of options in terms of like, weapons for Taoqi. So once we get, like a 5-star defense scaling, you think about like Noelle or something, where there was no Red Horn Stone Thresher in Genshin. But when that weapon does come, Taoqi's value. I would put her in A personally, just because of the fact I don't think that there's no reason for shields in this game. If there's a reason for healers, there's a reason for shields. And on top of that, she's like, well, not so much like in the sense because she doesn't buff the team, but her ultimate does do a good chunk of damage. So when you put all those things together, I think I would put her in A personally. I would not put her on the same tier as Aalto. No offense to Aalto, I wouldn't do it personally.
So I'm not a big fan of her. I don't really rate her very high. This chick is crazy. With dupes, like if you get the dupes for her, where.
Let's see. So he is now discussing Sanhua. He basically just explains how like she does a lot of damage. However, there's a caveat to her damage. It is situational. Okay, she does a lot of damage, but it's situational. One cool thing about Sanhua is basically that she can just kind of switch in, switch out. Like you use her as a main DPS or sub DPS. I'm gonna be honest. I think her main role will be sub DPS on a lot of teams. However, you once again can play her however you want. It's just they made her to where you can really like switch in, use your echo, do your stuff, and switch out. Like she builds her forte up very quickly. And normally, like characters like Verina, Sanhua, Baizhi, like normally the characters that build their forte, or rather not so much their forte, but their concerto energy, like usually when they build that, which is their ability to switch in, switch out, like the ones who build that quickly are usually the ones who are meant to like not stay on the field for too long. And like I said, she does a lot of damage, but it is situational because enemies move. And the thing with hers is when she puts those ice picks on the ground, if the enemy moves and they break, yeah, she does a lot of damage, but the enemy might not get hit unless they're like gigantic. Like maybe you're fighting up against the giant, turtle boss, who also is ice, so isn't going to take as much damage. You know what I mean? But I'm sure we'll get other enemies. That's my only thing with Sanhua. It's just that thing breaks. Like I don't know if they maybe make the AoE a little bit bigger, but like I said, you can only do so much, right? Not to say that you'll never be able to hit it. It's kind of situational.
But that's kind of what I'm seeing. I think she's going to be a really good damage dealer, but she doesn't do anything exceptional or unique. It's just like, she's a good damage dealer. And I think that a lot of these units are going to be in that situation. They hit really hard, you can clear it, but but they're not this like busted thing with crazy AoE or other passives or things like that. You know what I'm saying? This
Fair.
is Chixia.
Chixia,
She's
yeah.
in the beats here. The reason why is she needs like a lot of field time. She's got a cool kind of gun charge attack. She's all right, but I don't see her as someone that I want to build. You can see the numbers are really close to like Mortefi or beating him in some situations, but I just don't think she's going to be a pickup for me. It doesn't mean she's bad. Up next.
Yeah, I would agree. I said this in CBT too. I think Chixia is cool. She's a fun character, like really fun. But I do, once again, you can beat anything in this game with any character. You really can. I just think she's probably one of the characters I would say is probably going to get power crept pretty quickly, just because all she does is damage. It's kind of it. That's her whole shtick. All she does is damage. Even with like, I think one of the differences between Sanhua, for example, I think he was saying about Sanhua. Sanhua does a little bit more than just do damage. Her outro skill buffs basic attacks. Or as of CBT2, her outro skill buffed basic attacks. So as a result, she can buff characters like Lingyang, and so as well as other characters who use basic attacks. So not somebody who's gonna like, you can use her as a sub DPS. She can buff basic attacks, whereas characters like Chixia, like I said, she just does damage. Her outro skill just does damage. I would put her in B.
We've got a couple of the other 5 stars. I think that this Mamacita will be up here.
I agree for right now. However, we don't know for certain right now. She is supposedly getting retuned, same with Lingyang, so it's hard to say. I'm gonna let him explain why he puts her in A. But yeah.
She's got this like shielding, countering ability. She is a 5-star, so she's got some extra scaling. My guess is she'll be somewhere up here, maybe below like a couple of these, depending on how many copies you get. But she didn't like shine for me. She didn't stand out as this must-pick godly unit. She was just fine, but I didn't play with her a whole bunch, so I'm not gonna pretend, that she's like.
Okay, so yeah, he didn't play with her a whole bunch, so I can explain a little bit more as to what her issues were. Basically, her forte takes way too long to build. Her forte is her shield that she creates. Now, there are some interesting things about her shield, like if you don't somehow take damage or whatever, it heals you even at like lower tiers of her shield. Basically, you hold it up and then you do like this, and then she creates a shield, and it has like 4 tiers, and that depends on how strong it is. Problem is, who's gonna have time to do that when you're fighting up against some of these hologram bosses, right? Like, you're not. They're gonna break your shield and break you. So it took way too long for her kit to actually operate. They said they were gonna rework her, so maybe she actually gets improved. Mind you, her kit has a lot of supportive abilities. Like I said, she heals. Her outro skill buffs ultimate damage, which is really cool. So all in all, really fun character. I personally would love to get her to sequence 6. I got like Dea to sequence 6. Yes, C6R1. Dea have her here, and she is pseudo hybrid type of character, like a hybrid style character as well. And so with her, she was just so fun. Like having the ability to parry, all that stuff is just, it's really fun to play. So I personally will definitely be playing her. And I'll be, doing my best to, make her look good. But in general, A seems like a solid placement for now, because like I said, she's going to get changed. So maybe it bumps her up a little bit. Hopefully it doesn't bump her down. I mean, how much lower can she get at this point? All right.
Has higher damage. He has really good damage on the spreadsheets.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely awful to play.
Lies and deceit. No, I mean, obviously it's his subjective opinion, but I disagree. I disagree 1,000,000%. If you all had seen me streaming this game during CBT2, anybody in my community can tell you Lingyang was a joy to play. I actually have a guide on my channel, should be pretty easy to find, where I talk about the Mono Glacio team with Sanhua, Baizhi, and Lingyang. And Lingyang, I thought he felt great. Now, once again, this is his personal opinion, but yeah, nah, he says trash. Maybe if he had said it feels trash to him.
In my opinion.
Okay, there we go. So, exactly. I think he's great. I think he is awesome. Yeah, long story short, like bro has air combos. Like, how do air combos feel bad? Now, maybe he just wasn't able to, like, I think, this is my personal opinion, I think MTashed maybe just didn't get a lot of time to play all the characters because he was trying to make this guide. So he just played, you know, like a general bit of these characters, try to get, like, you know, a solid amount of time. That's the thing with these characters. Learning how to properly use these characters is not something you can just instantly do. It's going to take time. And then after you understand how to play each character, you're then going to have to learn how to play them in a team. So these are very intricate characters, as well as the echoes. That's going to take some time for us to really dig deep into all the things these echoes can do. We have echoes that slow down, create slow fields. We have echoes that can literally freeze enemies. We have echoes that can basically give you iframes. It's some, like, there's echoes that can cancel large boss special moves. That's one called the Cyan Heron. As well as can help you extend your combos. Cyan Heron, again, one of my favorite echoes in the game if you haven't noticed. So yeah, really, really in-depth combat system. So maybe that's why, or like I said, maybe he just doesn't like it, and that's fine. I personally love it though. The air combos are peak.
Absolute sewer level to play.
Nah, bro.
Trash.
Nah, not even close.
That she might be like,
I think there's some things that can be worked on.
in the B tier, like slightly above because of utility, but technically he does more damage.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I don't know. I don't know like where he's coming from with that. Now, to be fair, I think when he's on the ground, he could use like some more work because he feels at his best when he's in the air doing his combos. On the ground, he doesn't feel like horrible, but it just feels like you wish you could do more when he's on the ground. But once you get in the air, it's all fun. And like I said, maybe he doesn't know all the things that can happen, like broken dodge midair as well. Yeah, so we'll have to see. Hey, look, maybe one time we can have a conversation about it, MTashed. Feel free.
So it's like, it's really tough, you know, officially to say where they're going to be, but I'm not seeing a ton of potential, and I just don't really like them. So that's where I'm at right now. There's very fast enemies in this game, very hard-hitting bosses. There's a lot of situations where you're not going to have optimal rotations, and there is human error.
Which is my point for Sanhua and her ultimate, but yeah.
In these lists. But based on the numbers and based on the charts, based on what I know of the characters, and based on their overall passives and the increases they get, I'm feeling pretty good about the tier list.
Yeah, so like I said, all in all, I think it's like I said, the only thing I would change in this tier list is, wait, he dropped her to B? Wait, is this a joke? He dropped her to B? Bro, okay, nah. Anyway, so I would put these two in A. To put them on the level, unless you put Aalto in C, this just doesn't make sense to me, personally. If you put Aalto in C, that's fine. But I would put these characters, gosh, man, that's a bit rough. I'd put Lingyang in A. I'd still put her in somewhere a bit, like I said, her kid definitely needs some work. They said they're going to fix it. So between A and B, I can see that just because her kid, it needs work. But yeah, I'd put Lingyang in A. I'd put Aalto in C if you're going to go with this list. And then Taoqi, I'm going to say, this is probably the most biased pick in the whole tier list. I'd probably put her in A. But nevertheless, thank you all for coming. Hope you all enjoyed. I'll be covering story, lore, gameplay, and gameplay discussions on this channel. So feel free to, do the things. All right, I'll catch you guys later. Peace.
Hey, you. Do the thing.